Ladies and gents and the rest, welcome to All Talents. Today we have new 5 units with all talents. Chain Lightning. Talent number 1, Reverberation. Can be cast a second time. So this talent allows you to cast Chain Lightning twice in a row. If you don't cast it twice in a row, you will only be able to cast it once. Next talent is Brilliant Flash. On deploy, stun enemies within for 1 second. This is what you usually need this talent for. Boom, so we just stop the attack animation from the enemy's Huntress, and our Huntress managed to kill it. Obviously, you can use Chain Lightning just for normal things to kill kobolds and stuff like that if you have to. Also, this stun Chain Lightning affects structures. Next talent is Storm's Reach, dramatically increased jump distance between targets. Now we still don't know, like watch. Boom. See, it pretty much clears the whole screen. We don't know the real radius of jumping, but it's huge. It's just gigantic. So what do we pick? I would go with Brilliant Flash as a talent number 1 because it's extremely useful in PvP. You can win a lot of fights that you were supposed to lose because that allows you to switch focus of one units to make one units attack other units. Number 2, I would go Reverberation. It's a very cheap global spell that can be cast twice and does enough damage to kill whelpegs, kobolds, harpies, stuff like that. And number 3, I would go with obviously Storm's Rage because there's nothing else to take, right? And it's a really you can tell it's a really good talent. We just haven't found a use for it in the meta. Prowler. Talent number 1 on the Prowl. Gain stealth and stun the target when attacking from stealth. So here's how it works. Stun lasts 3 seconds. Ambush, if you don't know, it gives you 50% extra damage on hit. And after you are out of combat, you get back into stealth. After 2 seconds. Next talent is Predatory Instincts. Deal double damage to enemies who are at more than 75% health. So what this talent does, if you simplify the description, is it does double damage to full HP targets. In other words, targets sometimes what would take 2 hits to kill will take 1 hit to kill. Next talent is Pack Leader. Grants nearby beast allies 30% additional damage. Now, initially I thought it was a great talent because a Prowler itself is a beast, right? So I thought that Prowler would get permanent 30% damage buff. But as you can see, these 2 Prowlers are killing the Huntress with the exact same speed. And it takes 3 hits to kill Huntress, and they do the exact same damage. So this buff doesn't buff Prowler itself, even though it's a beast too. If you decide to use this talent, just keep in mind that as a solo Prowler on the battlefield, you're going to be talentless. So what do we take? Number 1, hands down on the Prowl. It has a lot of utility, gives you stealth, ambush, stun, a lot of things, right? So, especially for beginners, this is number 1 talent. Number 2, we go with Predatory Instincts. Again, I forgot to mention that Predatory Instincts also works the same way on structures. So your first hits to structure, to bosses, to cores, to towers will be double damage as well. So it has some use as well. Number 3, it's Pack Leader. Prowler, I haven't seen it used at all. Just take it as a 3rd talent, and if you ever need that, yeah, sure. Pyromancer. First talent is Conflagrate. Splash area is doubled. Now it's really hard to show you or draw a real radius of this double area talent. What we do see here is that if you use double area talent, you will be able to kill this pile of whelps, survive, and keep walking, you know? If you don't use this talent, you're gonna die. Talent number 2, Pyroblast. Deal triple damage on the first attack. This talent is really good for defending. You one-shot it like this, you kill the rest. Talent number 3, Blades of Glory. Damage and burn nearby enemies on death. Alright, let's take a look. So what it does is, when they kill you, it does damage and it applies burning. You can barely see the damage that it does, but it does do damage. So what do we pick? Number 1 is Conflagrate. Splash area is double. This is hands down the best talent, the most useful talent out of these 3. Number 2, I would go with Pyroblast, because there are also some PvP modifiers that make this talent even more useful. There's a PvP modifier that that makes your minis do double damage on the first attack. So if you combine it with this Pyroblast, you're going to do 600% damage on your first attack. And we can find maybe some use for it, right? So this is number 2 talent. And number 3 obviously is Blaze of Glory. It's much worse than the other 2, right? You can clearly see that even if you're beginners. Vultures. Don't ask me why it's epic. I don't want to talk about it. Talent number 1, Tendon Rip. Attacks daze enemies for 3 seconds. So what it does is they daze enemies. Dazing is, I believe it's a 33% slow movement speed and attack speed. Next talent is Feeding Frenzy. The flock gains Bloodlust for 5 seconds when spawning a new vulture. So what it does is, as soon as you spawn a new vulture, which means you kill something, the whole pack, or whatever, the group of these vultures, you see this? They get Bloodlusted for 5 seconds. Usually Bloodlust lasts 10 seconds. This one only lasts 5. I don't know why. Next talent is Migration. All additional vultures spawn at your base. Here's what it looks like. Vultures are hidden things, and these new vultures are spawned from your base. At your base, sorry. And what it does is it spawns vultures in different directions, in random directions. So it doesn't mean that they will always go one way. It works the way that skeletons work, that you resurrect using cheat death. And also, if you, for example, cast a smoke bomb with a +1 level to cycle units, which, by the way, vultures are, right? The vultures with the increased level spawn the vultures with the increased level. So these are 26 level vultures. If there's one level 27 vulture and it kills something, it spawns level 27 vultures. That's how it works. So what do we take? Number 1 is Tendon Rip. What we have now in today's Warcraft Rumble is that vultures are never used as a DPS unit. They're always used to distract, to make opponents do something, but they're not used as damage dealers. So dazing enemies on hit is actually the most useful thing that one gold unit can do. especially if you split them and you send them different directions. Number 2, I would go with Migration. Pretty much you can make it so that you constantly spawn Vultures on certain encounters in PvE, and sometimes in PvP as well. And they're always flying all over the place. It's really hard to explain, but they give you so much headache if there's a right context for it. And number 3, Feeding Frenzy. Like I said, Bloodlust on these things, it's not really needed because they are never used as a DPS unit, like I said. It's just simply not needed. That's why this talent would be number 3. We don't really need it. Goblin Sapper! My favorite unit. Talent number 1, Rocket Powered Turbo Boots. Move twice as fast and gain the fast trait. Let me explain you what this fast trait is. If we take this talent, right here for example, you see this? It says fast. That means that you can use Goblin Sappers with a fast trait and you're gonna get slot bonuses, right? Because they have a fast trait. If you remove this talent, see, you don't get the bonus from this talent. From the slot, sorry. That's exactly what it says. They are super pooper fast now. Oh, by the way, up before they kill themselves, I specifically made it level 24 versus level 25. So even if your Goblin Sappers are 1 level lower, they still one-shot the tower. If they're level 23, the tower is going to have a little bit of HP left. Next talent is Extra Boom. Deploy an additional +1 Goblin Sapper. It does exactly what it says. Instead of 2, it spawns 3 goblins. Yeah, it takes 3 to kill this tower because the tower is level 30. Da-da-da-da-da. Talent number 3, Crude Gunpowder. On death, burn nearby enemies. This is what happens when somebody kills your sappers. Boom. Start burning. Burning lasts 8 seconds, as you know. Now, this could be useful in PvP because if somebody is stupid enough, I already said if somebody is stupid enough, by definition, it's not the hard opponent, right? If somebody safe pilots your sappers with this talent, the burning kills safe pilot after sappers die. So it's like 2 gold sappers will kill 3 gold safe pilot. But I just have to say something nice about this talent because there's so little to say. So what do we take? Number 1 is Turbo Boots 100%. I think this talent should be built in into sappers because otherwise they're not usable at all. So this is much better talent than the other 2 combined. Number 2 is Extra Boom, just because it's less useless than number 3, Crude Gunpowder. So yeah, there's only 1 talent that is worth anything. That's all.